Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Activities for People Living with Dementia. We're proud to offer this series of funding from the Area Agency on Aging and the United Way of Tarrant County. Some of our programs are recorded and some are made available for viewing through YouTube channel for future use. To find us on YouTube, type in Dementia Friendly Fort Worth. Click on our logo, which is a longhorn with a blue background, and choose the word videos. I am Martha Brown, your host for today's activities. Today, we are wrapping our arms again around Peggy Spier from the Amon Carter, and she's bringing us art about cemeteries. Take it away, Peggy.
Oh, I love that intro. Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to kind of whip through, but spooky nonetheless. All right. So our first for it being cemeteries, there's a good amount of color in this week. Go figure.
Now that's shocking.
I know. Go figure. All right. So this first one, this is super interesting. All right. So can anyone tell me what we're looking at?
Oh, a gravestone.
A gravestone. Is it an actual gravestone? Well, it tells you what it is at the bottom. It's not an actual gravestone, but it is a rubbing of a gravestone.
A rubbing, okay.
So you can see the title, Three Manning Children. This was a headstone in Connecticut. And the family had three children. You can see their names, Eunice, Anne, and Anne.
Wow.
Several years apart.
Mm.
And so as was the time, families would often be buried together. Families would often use the same name for a child who had passed. But what's really interesting is that, okay, so this artist, this project kind of came about in a really interesting way. Without getting all into the art history of gravestones and cemetery, that was like some of the first artwork in the United States is between 1650 and about 1800. Carving for headstones and tombstones were prolific. And there were a lot of stone workers, slate workers, things like that, who got really good and made a living for themselves, being artisans for these headstones. In fact, one of my professors in graduate school, her focus was on cemetery art. That was her background, and she was
Wow.
yeah. So there is a lot to research about this topic, about the actual and you might notice when you're in other cities, particularly older East Coast cities, some of the most, like New Orleans, beautiful cemeteries. And the artwork, the angels, the sculptures, the columns, the obelisks, everything like that that's carved. It was an artwork that was one of the earliest forms here in the United States. So on the East Coast, Ann Parker and another artist, let me find the name, Avon Neal, partnered and funded by the Ford Foundation grant. They went up and down, particularly in the Northeast and then down into the South, and rubbed a lot of the headstones that were in these cemeteries. What kind of spawned the project was Ann Parker was in Massachusetts, and she, I guess, was hiking or something, kind of stumbled upon a weed-grown graveyard that was just kind of existed out in the
Wow.
woods. And so it got her interested in what, the beauty and the sort of the disappearance of some of these earlier gravestones because of things like, what are things that would destroy a gravestone? Can we think?
Weather. Vandalism.
Vandalism.
Oh,
Vandalism.
listen.
That's a
Hail.
good one. Say that again.
Hail.
Yeah, weather in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Vandalism, construction, people
Construction, yeah.
being careless within a cemetery, war.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a number of things that were, and just age. I mean, marble deteriorates, crumbles a little faster than slate does. So some of those marble headstones weren't as in good shape as others, but
Yeah.
over time, these started deteriorating, and there was this artist was really interested in preserving that history because it really is a beautiful history within American art history, and for these families that had lineages that had been buried here. So they received this grant, and they did as many gravestones and cemeteries as they could with these rubbings using different, like a Japanese paper, rice paper that was pretty thick but flexible, so they could really get into the crevices, and different color inks. And they typically used either like a brownie earth tone like this, or like a coppery green color, depending on what, and then sometimes mixed in other pads of ink, depending on the color they were trying to get. And it would take anywhere, any guesses on, I thought this was fascinating, any guesses on how long one rubbing might take for, let's say, a smaller size gravestone?
2 hours,
Oh, close, an hour.
an hour.
Up to an entire day for a larger headstone.
I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, for thinking like having to keep it still, and like you can't, just if you were doing it flat on a desk, but these are all upright, so it adds another element of
Ooh, yeah.
of challenge to it.
So on a larger headstone, would they just use one big piece of paper, or would they section it off?
From my understanding, they would do one larger piece of paper.
Okay.
And so then they would sell these prints. They've exhibited, and a lot of museums across the country have these. We have a few of them. But they were just like an original print or a lithograph or something, where they would get only one, or etching, they would get one print, and that would be the original. And so if they wanted to do two of a headstone, they would have to rub it twice. There was no reproducing of these. So they were able to sell these anywhere from, I saw something that estimated in Time magazine, anywhere from like $75 to $150, depending.
Wow.
Woo.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought it was like you knew exactly what it was when you were looking at it. It's just seeing it in a totally different.
So how big is this, Peggy?
This one is 14 by 28 inches.
Goodness.
Yeah. So
I must say, I know that this they're trying to honor their children, but this looks really kind of scary.
Spooky.
It looks like they have bat wings instead of angel wings, or as Myra said, roosters.
little Eunice, Ann, and Ann roosters. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was wrong. I was looking at the wrong thing.
Well, I mean, they don't quite look like babies, but you were able to tell that they're angel babies.
Yes.
And then there are roosters here. Yeah. So anyway,
where are the roosters?
On the edges of the.
I now see them. Thank you.
Peacocks are typically associated with death, with life and death and things like that. So, all right. So here, I thought this was a really cool take on a gravestone. Here is a stereograph. So you would drop it into one of the stereophone viewers, and you were able, that would kind of come to focus in almost like a 3D lens. We've talked about these before, where if you couldn't make it to this landmark, well, you would be able to live it from your seat at home and learn about America landmarks that way. We've seen ones of the Colorado Rockies and things like that, places that were probably harder to get to. Anyway, so here's one of the Trinity Churchyard in New York City. And have any of you ever been there before?
I have not.
Yeah.
No.
It's a registered historic, like a national landmark within the United States, because does anyone know who is buried there? This is like trivia to win you $1 million.
No.
Alexander Hamilton.
Really?
Yeah.
Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah, right. I know. I refrained from launching into my Alexander Hamilton and his wife Eliza are both buried here, along with Robert Fulton, who invented the steamboat.
Fulton's buried.
General, I don't know this person, but if there are war buffs or history buffs, they might. General Horatio Gates, he was the leader of battles of Saratoga. I didn't know that.
I don't know him.
But yeah, I didn't know that name either. This is this parish started in 1697. It's Episcopal, and it's a closed cemetery now. There's nobody new is joining this. No new friends in this. But I think from what I can understand, there's like there are two other cemeteries tied to this church in New York City, close to Wall Street. Two of them are in lower Manhattan, and then I think there's one in upper west or east side that is still taking residents. So
Well, I thought another thing that could affect tombstones, pollution.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially with the coloration of some of
Yeah.
these tombstones.
Yeah.
And another thing that I was reading that contributed to the destruction of tombstones, children, just children. That was the word, children. So I don't know if they're like practicing skateboard moves. I don't know what that meant.
I think probably just touching them with dirty, oily hands probably affected the
Yeah,
surface of the stone. Yeah.
probably after a while. Yeah, definitely. So anyway, so these are like the last artwork and this artwork are the ones that I have most history on. We've got 3 minutes left. So I'm just going to show you some other beautiful photographs we had of cemeteries in our collection.
Ooh, just great tree.
Yeah, I feel like you can tell the time of day. It almost is like, that kind of sun, or at least on the East Coast, it always has a certain feel. This is in New Jersey. Edward Weston is a very, very famous photographer. We've looked at his stuff in the past. His most famous photographs are of green and red peppers that he would just take on a plate, and they would really focus on the light and shadow of it.
Yeah.
So if you see a pepper, it's a Weston. But here, I mean, it's just, you got that really kind of fall, almost even dead of winter
Yeah.
feel. You feel the leaves on the ground.
You can almost hear the crunch.
Yeah. And feel that like coldness wrapped around you. Like you just know it feels cold.
Yeah.
But the cemetery, I mean, this is such a common thing, especially on the East Coast and in Colorado. I feel like when I lived in Colorado, you couldn't swing your purse without hitting a cemetery. But this is kind of how it was, it is on the East Coast too. And that's where some of these oldest artisans were doing a lot of their stuff. So you're able to see these beautiful varieties and shape.
It's a shame we can't do that in lots of cemeteries today.
Really? I was just ready to ask, how do you have to get permission to go in and do that, or you just walk through and do it, or? I
think it depends. Like I know there are a few cemeteries in Baltimore that have some really wonderful art, and you are able to go in. I don't know if now there are things that say please don't touch the tombstones or headstones or whatever because of deterioration, but I think generally you are allowed to just go in and I don't know how lax people are with touching or not, because there's very few people who are there to enforce it. I think it's just
right. Well, and then with the digital camera age, you can just take a picture of it.
Exactly.
Without touching anything.
All right, so we've got Weston, and then I'll end it with two porters. We've got this porter. I mean, he traveled the world, and there are pictures of cemeteries that he took throughout the world. So here's one, and this is in I want to say Mexico.
Oaxaca.
Yeah, Mexico. I was going to say I think it's in Mexico, but your windows are covering the label for me. And then this again, it looks very similar to the an overfed angel baby.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that looks old. Scott, look at the algae growing on it.
Yep.
Oh my.
But you can see the attention to detail. I mean, these beautiful, the angel itself, and then the not filigree, but just the detailing around it. And you can kind of see, I mean, it's hard just because of the shadowing, but you can see here in the top corner, this looks like it's almost like a sun or something, and it's got individual rays. So, I mean, there was a lot of time and thought put into what these designs look like.
I must say, this baby angel looks very much more baby angelish,
Yeah.
Healthy.
healthy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Healthy for a dead person.
a little cherub.
Cherub,
Cherub.
yeah.
Mhm.
Cherubisque.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
All right. Well, I hate
Go.
to cemetery and dash, but that's what we're gonna look at today.
All right, thank you very much, Peggy.
Yeah, guys, and well, next week, this is kind of random, but I kept finding pictures of strollers in our collection. So we're gonna look at some photographs of strollers that
That'll be good.
yeah, it was kind of interesting, just kind of to see the technology evolve over time.
Oh, yeah, I
Oh,
can
I
imagine
can't
baby
wait.
trams and things like that. The old-
Yeah, it's
old
wild.
timey stuff.
So, all right, be good, happy Halloween, and I'll see you on Wednesday.
Bye-bye, happy Halloween. Don't get too much
Bye.
candy.
Happy Boo Day. Well, wasn't that wonderful? Let's take a peek at what's coming up, and then we'll turn this off and we'll go straight into the Street Cafe. What do y'all say? Yeah? There's a little purple.
Yep.
Okay. At 11:30 and 1:30 today, Pets Are Practical with Kate and Jet. If you like dogs, that's your deal. And that we're about to come to the end of Pets Are Practical. She's only going to do 6.
Yeah.
Be there or be square. Thursday, Jeopardy at 10:30.
Hey,
I'm going to pick a nice, big, long Jeopardy. So we're going to go all
excellent.
the way from 10:30 to 11:15, maybe run late. I have a couple that are so huge they normally don't fit in a session. So we're going to do that. And
All right, we'll be there.
I'll be there. Yeah.
What time? Oh, what time is Jeopardy?
10:30 this time. First
Okay.
day. Yeah.
First one, yeah.
And then tomorrow, 11:30, where in the world is Heather? She's somewhere, and I don't know where she is, but she's going to tell you. And at 1:30, we're going to do Ken Jones saxophone with the Texas Winds.
Tomorrow sounds like a good day.
Tomorrow
Yes.
will be a good day. And just in case you want a sneak peek, if this doesn't cover you up with too much information, Friday is the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History.
Oh, great, yeah.
And then, because I want you to have a heads up on this, Monday of next week, dress Halloween. Emily Corbin says.
That's right, that's right.
Wear a hat, wear an outfit, have something behind you, something Halloweeny. And she says she said forgive her in advance for what she's going to dress as.
As long as she can move comfortably in it.
Exactly. Move comfortably. Shoulder. Let's turn this off.